Hello. Do you know what we're going to discuss in this video? Good. We are going to talk about modal auxiliary verbs. There are some auxiliary verbs in English which we can use in our speaking and they have got their own meaning. They're very different from do and does as auxiliary verbs because do and does do not carry any meaning, but modal verbs have got meaning. What are these modal verbs and what can they do for us in our sentences? What meanings do they carry and when can we use them? That's what we're going to talk about. The first auxiliary verb is can, and the past form of that is could. So can, could. Another one is may, might, shall, should, will, would. And we've got another one which is ought to. These are the main auxiliary verbs in English that we use in our speaking and writing. And in this lesson, we are going to learn how to use them. As we said, modal auxiliary verbs have got their own meanings. So we should use the one which is carrying the meaning that we want in our sentence. But there is another point that we should consider in our speaking and writing, and that is the auxiliary verbs have got their own grammar. How? For example, they carry no S with them like do and does. You might say, does he go to school in the morning? No, he doesn't. Do you play the guitar? Yes, I do. So sometimes you see that we've got do and sometimes we've got does. It means that it can carry an S with it. But modal auxiliary verbs are not carrying any S like that. You never say that he cans. No, he can. I can. You can. And what's the meaning of can? When you have the ability to do something, then you use can. For example, can you speak English? Yes, I can. What does it mean? It means that I have the ability to speak English. I can speak English. I can drive a car. By the way, how many languages can you speak? 2, 3, 4. You can add to the number of the languages that you can speak. Yes, these days it's very easy. You can use videos on YouTube and teach yourself different languages. Exactly, and then you can communicate with people very easily. People from different cultures. Now, the next modal verb is will. We use will in different situations, but the most simple and the most basic one might be when you're talking about a future. For example, the telephone is ringing and I want to answer the phone. Then I might say, I will answer the phone. That's one of the uses of will. But we can use it in many different situations. For example, it's very hot today, so I don't think that I will go out. I don't think that I will go out today because it's too hot here in Dubai. Exactly. So you know how to use will. Now, you can use will for other purposes. For example, when you're requesting something, will you close the door? Then you can use will for polite requests. There are so many other uses for will, and if you want to go into details of that, you can go to the grammar books, the grammar books that I have introduced you. Another point about the grammar of how to use the modal auxiliary verbs is that we never use to after them. For example, you might say that I want to go. It means that after the verb want, we use to go. But after modal auxiliary verbs, we're not using any of these things. Then the basic and the simple form of the verbs are used after can, could, will, would, may, might, shall, should, right? For example, I say, I will go, not I will to go, or she will go, not she will to go. Then you'll see that after modal auxiliary verbs, we are just using the basic form of the verb. No use of to before them, no use of ing or ing form of verbs after them, no use of s or es with auxiliary verbs, with modal auxiliary verbs. So these are the basic things that we should know and we need to know about the modal auxiliary verbs. The next thing that we should know is the use and the meaning of them. Now we're going to use one of these auxiliary verbs in some examples to show you how you can use them based on the meaning and the structure of the sentence and the context. For example, we have got must. What's the meaning of must? We use must when we are in a situation that we should and we have to do something. I mean, it is necessary to do. When something is necessary to do, then you can use must. For example, when you have an exam, then what must you do? You must study for the exam. Or when you're going to school early in the morning, then you must get up early in the morning. So I must get up early in the morning because I'm going to school. This is must, okay? And you know the meaning of must. Now, when we want to make questions, we simply move must to the beginning of the sentence. Then you will see that, must you get up early in the morning? Yes, I must get up early in the morning. Must he get up early in the morning too? Exactly, he must get up early in the morning too, because we are going to school together. So you see how we can use must. This is very simple. One important point about must is that must doesn't have any past form or any future form. It has only one form, and that is must. Now, when we want to use it in the past tense, what should we do? Yes, we have got another word that we can replace it. For example, have to. Have to almost has got the same meaning with must. For example, I have an exam tomorrow. I have to get up early in the morning. Exactly. Now, if I talk about the past, for example, 2 weeks ago, I had a very difficult exam. Then can I say that I must study for the exam? No, we can't, because I'm talking about the past tense. So what should I do? I would say I had to study for the exam 2 weeks ago. The past form of have to is had to. Okay? So in the past tense contexts, we use had to instead of must. Now, what about future? Because I told you that we don't have any future for must. If we want to talk about something that we must do in the future, we can sometimes use must, right? For example, I say, I must get up early tomorrow. But there is another form that we can use, and that is, I will have to get up early next week. I will have to study for my lessons. I will have to study for my exams. I will have to. So I'm using will to show that this is about future, and I'm using the verb have to show that there is something that is necessary to do. So I will have to continue teaching grammar and making more videos for you. Yes, it means that this is necessary for me to do. Now, what about the negative form of must? Very easy. You can say, I must not go there, or I mustn't. But there is one small point about the negative form of must and have to that we should know. When we say, I must not do something, it means that this is necessary not to do. Okay? So, you mustn't smoke here. It means that it's forbidden and it is necessary that you do not smoke here in this place. But have to becomes negative like this. I have to do something means that it is necessary that I do something. But when you say I don't have to do something, it means that you have the choice. You can do it or not do it. So you see that the use of must and have to in negative form is very different. For example, you have an easy exam tomorrow, so you don't have to study for that too much. Why? Because it's easy. But when you have a difficult exam tomorrow, you must study for that, or you have to study for that and get ready. So when we say we don't have to do something, it means that we are free to choose to do it or not do it. You have to practice English, but you don't have to practice it from early in the morning until night. You might choose to study and practice 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day. But if you do that, that would be okay. Now, what about should? Yes, should. Should is not an obligation as strong as must and have to, but we can use it when we are providing a kind of suggestion for somebody to do something. For example, when I've got a problem and I am coming to you to ask for your ideas, you might start talking with me through should. I have an exam tomorrow, then what should I do? You might say that you should manage your time and practice and study according to a schedule. Yes. Or I have a headache. Oh, you should rest at home and don't go to work. Should. That's how we are using should. And, and the negative form and the question form of that is very easy. You shouldn't do something. For example, you shouldn't work too much because you need to rest. When, especially when you've got a headache. And for the question, then you can use should I or should you. This is the form of the sentence. But when do we use should I? For example, if I want to improve my speaking, do you think that I should have a partner for my speaking? Then you can ask, should I have a partner for my speaking practice? Yes. Should I have a partner for my speaking practice? Yes, you should have a partner for your speaking practice. This is much better for you. Okay, the next modal verb is can. And we use can when we are talking about our ability. For example, I can speak 5 languages. Wow, that's fantastic. You can speak 5 languages? Yes, and I can teach you if you want. It means that I have the ability to speak 5 languages and I have the ability to teach you the languages. But in the question form, we can use can in different situations. For example, we can use it for ability. Can you speak 5 languages? Or how many languages can you speak? How many languages can you speak? Can you drive? Can your father drive a car? This is for ability, but sometimes you might use it with a different purpose. For example, you are in the classroom and you're asking your teacher, can I go out for a minute? Yes, you can. This one is a request when you're asking for permission to do something. Can I smoke here? No, you cannot smoke here. Good. Now, when we are talking about can, what's the past tense or past form of can? We can easily say that can has got a past form and that is could. For example, could you speak English when you were 10 years old? Yes, I could speak English when I was 10 years old. It means that I had the ability to speak English when I was 10 years old. But there is another form that we can use for can. I mean, when you want to talk about future, there is no future form of can. So what can we use? We can use this, be able to do something. For example, when I was 12 years old, I was able to drive a car. Or you can say, in 5 years, I will be able to buy a very expensive car. So we can use be able to for the future purposes and for the past purposes. This was a very summary lesson of modal auxiliary verbs, and I hope that you've been able to learn that. The story of the modal auxiliary verbs in English is very long, and it cannot be covered in a 10-minute video, so I will teach you more details about modal auxiliary verbs in the future. You see that I'm using will. Yes? So, the best way to learn a language is to speak and write and read that language. Let's do that almost every day in our life. Then you will see a very good result in a very short time. Thank you.